After studying transportation in animals, today we are going to study transportation in plants. Unlike animals, in plants, simple diffusion is the major process for transportation or exchange of some materials in plants. Gaseous molecules like carbon dioxide, oxygen are exchanged by the help of some particular part of the plants or cells of the plants, which are stomata and lenticels, and through stomata and lenticels diffusion takes place and there is exchange of carbon dioxide and oxygen molecules. If we talk about some other materials or elements which are required for building up of the plant body, like nitrogen, phosphorus, minerals, some water molecules, these are obtained by or from soil and by the help of root hairs and are deposited or transported to the place where there is presence of chlorophyll so that food production can be done. And once the food production is done, that food is then transported to wherever it is required. If the distance between the place where the food has been produced and the place where it is required or utilized or has to be utilized is very less, so this distance can be covered by the help of simple diffusion. But if the distance is very much long or it takes time, so this transportation of food from the place where it is produced to the place where it is required or has to be utilized is done through a proper transporting system. As most of the parts of the plants we know are made up of dead cells, so what happens here is that energy demand is very less, and as energy demand is very less, transportation becomes a slow process in plants, whether there is transportation of water or of the food or of the minerals that we have talked about. This transportation or the transporting system that we were talking about earlier consists of two pathways. These pathways are xylem and phloem, means these are the tissues which helps in the transportation of the materials which are required or which are present in a place and has to be transported to the place where they are required. Xylem and phloem both are complex tissues. However, their conduction or their transporting material is different respectively. If we talk about xylem, here the transporting material is water and minerals. Means xylem will transport water and minerals from soil, these are present in soil, to the aerial parts of the plant. However, phloem transport food and hormones to the place where it is produced and it is required. So these are the two conducting or transporting pathways through which some important materials are transported. So now let's talk about these conducting tubes or conducting system of plant transporting system. Xylem and phloem both are complex tissues, and tissues are formed by grouping of the cells. So first we will take up xylem. Xylem being a tissue is formed by 4 different types of cells. These are fibers, xylem parenchyma, tracheids and vessels. Out of these 4 cells, only xylem parenchyma are the living cells. Others are dead cells. And vessels are long multicellular cells which form a conducting channel. And these are formed by end-to-end union of several vessel cells. Tracheids on the other hand are long and pointed cells, means they have pointed ends, and these will be elongated cells. Both these tracheids and vessels together they are known as trachyry elements. Their function will be same for the conduction of water and mineral, means the sap here. Sap is water plus mineral, together we call it sap. So they both helps to transport that sap. Xylem parenchyma on the other hand helps in the lateral flow of the water, means it will help in the lateral flow of the water. And these tracheids, if we talk about particularly tracheids are present majorly in non-flowering plants. Non-flowering plants means gymnosperms. However, they will be present in flowering plants but in very lesser amount. On the other hand, vessels are present in flowering plants, means angiosperms, and these will be absent in gymnosperms, means non-flowering plants. As both tracheids and vessels are conducting cells or conducting tubes of the xylem, they both will have pits, because they need to conduct that sap from the place which it has been obtained to the place which is required. So it needs some space so that it can flow. So there will be presence of pits in vessels and tracheids, means in the trachyry elements. Now let us see phloem. After xylem, let's talk about phloem. Like xylem also, phloem is made up of 4 types of cells. These are sieve tubes, companion cells, phloem parenchyma and phloem fiber. Here, out of these 4 types of cells, phloem fibers are the only dead cells, else other are living, means sieve tubes, companion cells and parenchyma, phloem parenchyma are living cells, but phloem fiber is are the dead cells. Sieve tubes are elongated, multicellular, tubular conducting cells. These are, like vessels, are formed by end-to-end union of several sieve tube elements. Means the cells of sieve tubes, or sieve tubes are the cells, they will bind end to end and they will form a conducting or tube-like structure for conduction of the food and hormone from the place where it has been produced to the place where it is required. After sieve tube, there is presence of companion cells. As companion cells, by the name we can already tell this, that they help the sieve tube. Sieve tubes does not have their own nucleus. They don't have nucleus. So the function of sieve tube is controlled by companion cells. And sieve tubes are the conducting cells or conducting tubes, tubular structure. They have septa. Their cell to cell structure will have septa. Septa is the division between the 2 cells, but that septa consists of pores. There will be presence of pores so that conduction can be done, and this septa with pore is known as sieve plates, right? So we have discussed about xylem and phloem, and we have seen some of the important function. If we talk about fibers in both case xylem and phloem, fibers act as supportive structures. They help the xylem and phloem in supporting. Okay, so the main function of xylem and phloem fibers, in both case, they helps in supporting the tissues.